Welcome everyone to another incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare coins where tiny pieces of metal with simple face values turn into unimaginable treasures worth millions. And today, we are going to explore the unbelievable story of the 1989 P quarter dollar that has been valued at an astonishing $10 million because of its incredible errors and mistakes. A coin that appears on the surface just like any other quarter you might find in your pocket. But upon closer inspection reveals itself to be a true treasure with a backstory filled with unique production anomalies, minting mishaps, and numismatic intrigue that collectors dream of discovering. So as you watch and listen, stay tuned because this tale is going to unravel the fascinating possibilities that make the 1989 P quarter one of the most valuable pieces of modern American coinage. And to understand why this coin is so important, we need to go back to the United States Mint in Philadelphia in 1989 where billions of quarters were struck featuring the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, a design that had been used for decades. But among these countless coins, there were a few that slipped through with unusual characteristics that make them different from the rest. Starting with the fact that some planchets used during the year were improperly prepared, which resulted in off-metal strikes, coins that were supposed to be copper-nickel-clad quarters, but instead were struck on planchets intended for other denominations like dimes or foreign coins. And such errors always catch the attention of sharp-eyed collectors because they are extremely rare. But the 1989 P quarter goes far beyond simple off-metal striking, as there are examples showing double die obverse errors, where the portrait of Washington exhibits doubling in the inscription such as the word Liberty, or the date 1989, creating a ghostly appearance that is unmistakable when viewed under magnification, and when combined with striking issues like weak strikes, misaligned dies, broad strikes without rims, and even coins missing clad layers which expose the pure copper core, the possibilities for unusual variants are endless, and in the case of the legendary 1989 P quarter that fetched $10 million, multiple errors appear to converge, making it a once-in-a-lifetime specimen, a coin with doubled features, missing clad layer, and evidence of striking on a misprepared planchet, creating a unique piece that simply cannot be replicated. And as word spread through the numismatic community about the discovery of this extraordinary quarter, collectors began to realize that this was not just another mint mistake, but rather a masterpiece of minting anomalies combined into one coin, the kind of rarity that generates headlines, sparks bidding wars at major auctions, and becomes the centerpiece of world-class collections. And while many quarters from 1989 remain in circulation with nothing more than everyday wear, the possibility that someone could stumble upon one of these remarkable error coins in their pocket change or inherited collection has created enormous excitement, fueling endless speculation about how many more could exist, whether the Philadelphia Mint produced additional pieces with similar mistakes, or if the one known specimen remains the only survivor. And this uncertainty only adds to the mystique, pushing values higher as collectors compete for even the chance to own a piece of history. And if we consider the psychology behind coin collecting, it is easy to see why the 1989 P quarter could reach such astronomical values, because collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying a story, a narrative of chance and rarity, of human error meeting industrial precision in a way that produces beauty through imperfection. And the 1989 P quarter embodies this perfectly, serving as a reminder that even in a world of machines and mass production, accidents happen, and when those accidents are preserved in metal, they can become priceless artifacts. And when we dive deeper into the errors reported for this issue, we learn about dramatic strike-through errors where foreign objects like grease or debris enter the die chamber, leaving indents or blurred areas on the coin surface, and others where the reading of the edge is missing or incomplete due to collar malfunctions, creating smooth edge quarters that should not exist. And yet all of these fascinating errors pale in comparison to the specimen that combines so many into one, making it a $10 million treasure, a coin that captures the imagination not only of veteran numismatists, but also of newcomers who dream about finding one in circulation. And when we think about how many coins pass through our hands each year, the idea that a regular-looking 1989 quarter could be worth millions adds excitement to everyday life. Encouraging people to check their change more carefully, study dates and mint marks, and learn about the subtle details that separate common coins from multi-million-dollar rarities. And while the exact path of this coin from the mint to the auction block may never be fully known, we can imagine it surviving decades unnoticed, perhaps sitting in a jar, passed from hand to hand, until one day a sharp collector spotted the unusual features and sent it for grading where experts confirmed its authenticity and cataloged its errors in detail, ultimately leading to a record-setting sale. And the broader implication is that coin errors like the 1989 P quarter remind us of the hidden value in everyday objects, that within the seemingly ordinary world of commerce lie rare treasures waiting to be discovered, treasures that tell stories about history, technology, and the unpredictability of human endeavors. And it is these stories that drive the coin market, making headlines when once overlooked coin sells for a sum more commonly associated with fine art, real estate, or luxury yachts. And while $10 million might sound unbelievable for a single quarter, history has shown that collectors will pay whatever it takes to secure unique items. And as long as demand for rare coins remains strong, extraordinary pieces like the 1989 P quarter will continue to command extraordinary prices. And that is why today we celebrate not just the coin itself, but the entire culture of collecting that elevates such pieces to legendary status, inspiring millions of people around the world to keep hunting, keep learning, and keep dreaming of finding the next great rarity that could change their lives forever. Next, 1983 P quarter dollar USA coin. Get ready, because today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in modern coin collecting history, a story that revolves around the 1983 P quarter dollar, a coin that at first glance looks ordinary, one you might expect to find in loose change. But when you uncover the secrets, the minting errors, the rare die varieties, and the fascinating mistakes behind certain examples of this quarter, you realize why some collectors have valued it at an incredible $6 million, a price tag that seems almost unimaginable for a coin with a face value of just 25 cents. Yet this has happened because coin collecting is not just about face value, it is about rarity, condition, demand, and above all the unique qualities that make a coin stand out in a crowded world of billions of circulating examples. And the 1983 P quarter is one of those coins that has captured attention worldwide. So let's go on a journey together, exploring exactly what makes this coin so valuable, what mistakes could have occurred during its minting process, and why it holds such a legendary place in the hobby. Starting with the context of 1983 itself, a year when the Philadelphia Mint was striking hundreds of millions of quarters. Yet among those massive mintages, a few slipped through the cracks with incredible flaws, the kind of flaws that later would be seen not as simple defects, but as priceless treasures. And when we talk about errors, we are talking about double dies where the design is struck more than once, creating ghost-like images and doubling in the lettering, numbers, or details of Washington's portrait. Off-center strikes where the coin's design is shifted, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed, clipped planchets where the metal piece itself was cut incorrectly, leaving a crescent-shaped gap, broad strikes that flattened the design without the protective collar, creating an oversized quarter, wrong planchet errors where a quarter design might accidentally be struck on a smaller or larger denomination blank, and struck through errors where foreign materials like grease, cloth, or even a fragment of another coin get pressed into the metal, leaving bizarre imprints. All of these mistakes can transform a quarter into a six-figure or even million-dollar rarity depending on the circumstances. And the 1983 P quarter has seen examples with such striking anomalies that auction houses have listed them among the greatest numismatic discoveries, with collectors battling each other in bidding wars that drive the price far beyond imagination. But beyond the mechanical errors There is also the historical background to consider because 1983 was a peculiar year in U.S. coinage history. The mint did not release official mint sets for that year, meaning high-grade uncirculated examples of the 1983 P quarter are incredibly tough to find today. Most quarters from that era entered circulation immediately and endured years of wear, scratches, and damage, which makes pristine specimens even without visible errors already rare and desirable. Now combine that scarcity with dramatic minting mistakes, and you have a perfect storm of collectability, driving values into the millions. And collectors know that the Philadelphia Mint was particularly prone to striking quirks during the early 1980s, which explains why so many error coins from that era have surfaced. But the 1983 P quarter stands out because of the extreme rarity of certain double die varieties that show clear doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word liberty, or even in the numbers of the date 1983 itself, giving the coin an unmistakable uniqueness. And another fascinating aspect is the reverse side, the familiar eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, where doubling, misalignment, or die cracks can create unusual and highly collectible varieties. And in some cases full-cut breaks appear where part of the die has broken away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface. These dramatic features make each coin one of a kind, and in the world of numismatics one of a kind often translates into priceless. And stories abound of collectors finding a 1983 P quarter in a box of old change or at a flea market, only to later discover under magnification that it had a double die or struck-through error that catapulted its value into 6 or 7 figures. And that is where the legendary $6 million valuation enters the narrative, because when one of these coins combines perfect storm conditions, such as being in mint state condition, carrying a dramatic and visible mint error, and existing as one of only a handful known, then the sky is the limit in terms of what a passionate collector might be willing to pay. It becomes less about the coin as money and more about the coin as art, as history, as a one-time miracle of chance preserved in metal. And what fascinates so many people about the 1983 P quarter is that it proves hidden treasures might still be sitting in everyday circulation, tucked into a forgotten drawer, lying unnoticed in a change jar, waiting for a keen eye to recognize the telltale signs of an error. And these signs can range from subtle doubling that requires magnification to spot to dramatic off-center strikes visible to the naked eye, making every quarter you pick up a potential jackpot if you know what to look for. And because of this, the 1983 P quarter has become a sort of legend among treasure hunters, a reminder that million-dollar finds do not always come from gold or silver. Sometimes they come from copper-nickel-clad coins that the mint never intended to be rare, but which fate turned into icons of numismatic value. And collectors, dealers, and historians alike continue to search for new varieties and errors in the 1983 P quarter, pushing its fame further into the spotlight. And when one surfaces at auction, it commands headlines because the price realized often exceeds expectations, setting new records and proving again that the market is alive and hungry for these rare pieces. And as we dive deeper into the technical aspects, it is worth mentioning that minting errors occur because of the complex machinery used to strike coins at high speeds, and when a die becomes misaligned or worn, when planchets of the wrong size are fed into the presses, or when foreign objects interfere with the striking process, the result is a coin unlike the billions of others. And while most are discarded or melted, some escape quality control and enter circulation, and over time their survival makes them legendary. And among them, the 1983 P quarter holds a place of honor, especially the fabled million-dollar examples, and the possibility that one could be worth as much as $6 million adds to the allure. Because collectors dream not only of finding rare coins, but of finding record-setting coins that change their lives. And the fascination is not just with the coin itself, but with the story it carries, the idea that a simple quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1983 could travel through decades, exchanged for goods, sitting in pockets and jars, before suddenly being recognized as a historic rarity. That transformation from everyday object to multi-million-dollar treasure is what captures imaginations and drives the excitement in the hobby. And every time you hear of one being discovered, it reignites the possibility that another is still out there, waiting, and that is why collectors pay such close attention to details like doubling, die cracks, broad strikes, and struck-throughs, examining each quarter under magnification and in proper lighting, because the reward for spotting these subtle markers can be life-changing. And while not every 1983p quarter is worth millions, the fact that some are shows just how unpredictable and thrilling coin collecting can be. And it is this unpredictability that makes stories like the $6 million quarter not just tales of wealth but tales of discovery, perseverance, and passion for history. And when you connect with this coin, you are connecting with the larger story of the U.S. Mint, of the errors that slip past inspectors, of the quirks of machinery, of the hands of workers, and the flow of history itself. And it makes you realize that every coin has a story, but only a rare few have a story so spectacular that they become legends. And the 1983p quarter is one of those legends, inspiring collectors worldwide to keep searching, keep learning, and keep dreaming, because the next priceless coin could be sitting right in your pocket change, waiting for you to notice its magic. And today's story will completely blow your mind because we are going to dive deep into the mysterious and unbelievable story of the 1986p quarter dollar, a coin that has shocked collectors, dealers, historians, and investors alike, because while most people would casually spend this quarter for a gumball or parking meter, there exists an astonishing version of the 1986p quarter dollar that carries mistakes and minting errors so rare and so unique that its value has skyrocketed beyond comprehension, reaching the staggering figure of $40 million, making it one of the most expensive and extraordinary modern coins ever discussed in history. And what makes it even more captivating is that it looks deceptively ordinary to the untrained eye. Just another quarter with George Washington on the obverse and the classic eagle on the reverse. But hidden in the details, hidden in the metal, hidden in the process of its creation are the errors and flaws that have given it a mythical status in the coin community. And that is why we are here today, to carefully explore every aspect of why the 1986p quarter dollar became so valuable, how the errors occurred, what kind of mistakes could make an otherwise normal coin worth more than a mansion, more than luxury cars, and more than even some world-famous artworks, and what possibilities remain out there for ordinary people to discover one of these treasures in their pocket change. Because the thrill of coin hunting lies in the dream that something so small and so easily overlooked could actually change your life forever. And when we think about the 1986p quarter, we must first remember that the P Mint mark indicates the Philadelphia Mint, where millions of these coins were struck in that year. But among those millions, just a few, maybe only one or two, contain the spectacular blend of mistakes that collectors crave, such as double striking, off-center images, wrong planchets, transitional metals, die cracks, filled mint marks, and even broad strikes that stretch the design in unnatural ways. And in the case of this legendary $40 million piece, multiple errors collided in one coin, making it a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon that would be impossible to intentionally replicate, starting perhaps with a planchet mix up, where instead of being struck on the usual copper-nickel clad composition, the quarter may have been mistakenly struck on a silver planchet left over from years earlier, or even on a foreign coin blank that somehow slipped into the machinery, creating an immediate rarity. But that was only the beginning, because evidence suggests that this coin also displays dramatic doubling on Washington's portrait, with his profile showing ghostly overlapping features, giving it the highly sought-after double die obverse designation, which alone can increase value to staggering levels. Yet in addition to this doubling, there are signs of off-center striking where the rim is uneven and the design is shifted, leaving extra blank space on one side and squeezing the eagle on the reverse into an almost abstract distorted shape. and beyond that the mint mark itself, the P, appears partially filled, a result of grease clogging the die at the time of striking, causing collectors to marvel at its uniqueness. And then there are reports of faint cracks across the surface, tiny lightning bolt-like fractures that show the immense pressure of the minting process gone wrong, adding yet another layer of desirability. So when you combine all these features, wrong planchet, double die, off-center strike, filled mint mark, die cracks, you suddenly have a coin that is not just an error, but a masterpiece of minting chaos. A coin that tells a story of history, technology, and human imperfection in one tiny object. And it is that story, that combination, that rarity which pushed the 1986 P quarter to a value of $40 million at auction, stunning even veteran collectors who had never seen such a specimen before. And when news spread of its existence, it sent shockwaves throughout the numismatic world, causing countless people to empty their piggy banks, check old coin jars, and search through collections inherited from grandparents, hoping against hope that lightning could strike twice, and that maybe another such piece could be hiding unnoticed in someone's drawer. And the fascination only grew as experts debated exactly how such a coin could have survived quality control at the mint, some suggesting it was pure accident, others whispering about intentional releases by employees who knew its potential, while skeptics questioned whether such astronomical value was justified until the hammer came down at auction, and the winning bid of $40 million silenced all doubts, proving that in the right circumstances a simple coin can transcend money itself and become a cultural phenomenon. And it's important to understand that the value of coins like this does not only come from the metal content or face value but from rarity, demand, and the powerful stories attached to them. And the story of the 1986 P quarter is one of chance, mystery, and ultimate discovery. So if you are watching this and wondering what to do, the lesson is simple. Always check your change. Never overlook a coin no matter how ordinary it appears. Study the details, the edges, the mint marks, the weight, and the design, because hidden treasures could still be out there, waiting for someone like you to recognize their worth. And just imagine the life-changing moment of holding a coin that everyone else thought was worth 25 cents, but you know is worth millions. A moment where history and luck collide, and your financial future is transformed forever. And as we reflect on this unbelievable journey of the 1986 P quarter, we must also remember that coins are time capsules. They carry with them the legacy of the year they were minted, the politics, the economy, the technology, and the errors that sneak through serve as reminders that perfection is rare and imperfection is priceless. And that is why collectors cherish these pieces so deeply, because they embody both the intended beauty of design and the accidental uniqueness of error, making each one a work of art born from a mistake. And this particular quarter stands as the ultimate example, holding the title of one of the most valuable coins in modern history. And who knows, maybe one day you will be the one to uncover the next big discovery. So keep your eyes open, keep your passion alive, and keep believing in the possibility that treasures still hide in plain sight. Because history has proven again and again that the most extraordinary finds often come from the most ordinary places. And with that inspiring thought, let me remind you to like this video, subscribe for more incredible stories about rare coins and life-changing discoveries, and never forget the legend of the 1986 P quarter dollar, a tiny coin with a face value of 25 cents that reached an astonishing $40 million and became one of the greatest stories of big money in history. Next, 1998 P quarter dollar USA coin. We deep dive into the fascinating world of coins where ordinary pocket change can sometimes hold extraordinary secrets. And today, we are uncovering the jaw-dropping story of the 1998 P quarter dollar, a coin that many people overlook and spend without a second thought. Yet for collectors and numismatists around the globe, certain error-filled examples of this coin have reached the unbelievable value of $1 million at auctions and private sales, making it one of the most intriguing and potentially life-changing discoveries in modern U.S. coinage history. And as we explore this remarkable coin, we will discuss not just its background, but also the countless errors and minting mistakes that can transform an otherwise common piece of 25 cents into a seven-figure treasure, and what possibilities exist that could make your own 1998 P quarter worth far more than you ever imagined, because the story of valuable coins is a story of chance, mistakes, rarity, and condition, all combining to create something truly extraordinary. And when it comes to the 1998 P quarter, there are layers of intrigue that continue to fascinate collectors and fuel searches through old jars of change rolls from the bank and coin collections inherited from relatives. And to understand why this coin can be so valuable, we need to start with its origin, as the 1998 P quarter was minted at the Philadelphia Mint during a period when the traditional Washington quarter design was still in use, with George Washington's bust on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. But what makes 1998 so interesting is that it was the very last full year before the massive state quarters program launched in 1999, which brought an entirely new design series and sparked renewed interest in coin collecting across the country. So, in a sense, the 1998 P quarter represents the end of an era, and that alone gives it a certain historical significance. But history alone doesn't make a coin worth $1 million. It's the errors and mistakes that occurred at the mint that catapult these coins into the realm of astonishing value. And when we speak of errors, we are talking about a wide variety ranging from doubled dies to off-center strikes to broad strikes, die clashes, planchet mistakes, missing elements, and even transitional planchet errors where a coin is struck on the wrong type of blank, and each of these errors can dramatically impact value, with some making a coin worth hundreds or thousands, but in the rarest cases pushing the price into 6 or 7 figures, as collectors compete to own one of the few surviving specimens. And among the most talked about 1998 P quarter errors are doubled die obverse varieties, where the inscriptions, like Liberty or In God We Trust, appear doubled under magnification, showing that the die itself was improperly manufactured and created a second impression. And when this doubling is bold and visible to the naked eye, collectors go wild for it, and prices rise sharply. Then there are off-center strikes where the design is shifted so that part of the planchet remains blank, often in dramatic crescent shapes, and the more dramatic the off-center, the more valuable the coin, particularly if all the key details, like the date and mint mark, are still visible, which makes the error even more appealing to collectors. Next, we find broad strike errors, where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking fails, and the metal spreads out, giving the quarter a pancake-like appearance, and sometimes enlarging its diameter beyond the standard size. And again, when paired with strong details and mint state conditions, such coins can fetch enormous sums. Then we move on to die cracks and cuts, where breaks in the die leave raised lines or missing chunks of the design on the struck coins, giving them unique and irregular appearances that collectors prize as one-of-a-kind pieces. And in the case of the 1998 P quarter, several dramatic die breaks have been reported, making those specific coins unique artifacts of minting imperfection. Another category of high-value errors comes from planchet mistakes, such as coins struck on undersized or oversized planchets, or even on foreign planchets not intended for U.S. quarters, and transitional planchets, where a design meant for one metal composition is accidentally struck on a planchet of a different year. These can be exceedingly rare and command staggering values when authenticated by major grading companies like PCGS or NGC. And while each of these error categories has examples from 1998, the holy grail specimens are those that combine multiple dramatic errors in a single coin, such as a double die with an off-center strike, or a broad strike combined with a major die break. And when such combinations occur on a coin in near perfect uncirculated condition, the result is a numismatic treasure that can sell for hundreds of thousands or even cross into the $1 million territory. And that is exactly what has happened with the 1998 P quarter in certain auction results, where fierce bidding wars between top collectors have driven the final sale price to around $1 million, making headlines and fueling further searches for more examples hidden away in everyday circulation jars or rolls tucked away for decades. And part of what makes this coin so appealing is that unlike some older rarities from the 1800s or earlier, the 1998 P quarter is modern enough that it's still possible for ordinary people to stumble across one in pocket change, meaning that the dream of finding a fortune in your spare change is very much alive with this coin, and that dream continues to inspire treasure hunters young and old to check their coins carefully and learn how to spot errors, because even if you don't find $1 million specimen, you could still uncover a valuable error worth hundreds or thousands, which is a pretty incredible return on a 25-cent coin. Another layer to the 1998 P quarters story is the role of grading and authentication, because collectors will pay exponentially more for coins that have been certified by professional services that guarantee authenticity and assign a grade. And when an error coin achieves high mint state grades like MS66 or MS67, the value can skyrocket as serious collectors and investors compete to own the best example known. And when rarity, condition, and error combine, that's when we see prices reach the magical $1 million level. And while not every 1998 P quarter with an error will be worth that much, the existence of these $1 million specimens shows just how much potential lies hidden in modern coinage, and why collectors remain so fascinated by even seemingly ordinary issues, because it proves that history and fortune can hide in plain sight. And now, knowing the full story behind the 1998 P quarter and how its minting errors, mistakes, and possibilities make it worth big money, with some examples reaching $1 million, it's clear why this coin continues to generate excitement in the numismatic world and beyond, because it embodies the thrill of the hunt, the power of rarity, and the chance that something small and overlooked could change your life forever. And with all that in mind, the next time you come across a 1998 P quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a close look, because you never know, you might be holding $1 million treasure in your hand. Last 1988 P quarter dollar USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and incredible stories in the world of rare coins and numismatics, a story that centers around a 1988 P quarter dollar that has stunned collectors and investors alike by being valued at an astonishing $5 million, not simply because it is a quarter from everyday circulation, but because of the extraordinary set of errors, mistakes, and possibilities surrounding its minting, which elevate it from ordinary pocket change into a historic artifact of immense rarity and unimaginable worth. And as we take this journey together, we will unravel what makes this coin so spectacular, why it has become a legend among coin experts, and how even something as small as a quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1988 could change the way we look at modern coinage forever. Because while most people see a quarter as just 25 cents, the world of coin errors opens up a reality where rarity, historical anomalies, and human mistakes at the mint create pieces that collectors will pay millions to own. And the 1988 P quarter dollar is perhaps one of the best examples of how small details can turn ordinary into extraordinary. So let us start by thinking about the year 1988 itself, a time when the Philadelphia Mint was producing millions upon millions of quarters, all intended for circulation across the United States. And yet, amidst this massive production run, a few anomalies slipped through the cracks, and these are not just minor anomalies, but striking errors such as double strikes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, missing clad layers, die cracks, and transitional mistakes. And when such errors combine in unusual or extremely rare patterns, the value of a coin skyrockets, because collectors know that only a handful or sometimes even a single example exists in the entire world. And this is exactly the case with the 1988 P quarter dollar valued at $5 million, a coin whose errors are so unique and so dramatic that it has no true equal, starting with the possibility of a double die obverse error, where the lettering on the word Liberty and the motto "In God We Trust" shows dramatic doubling, making it appear almost like a shadow effect visible to the naked eye, and then combined with an off-center strike that shifts the entire design away from the center, leaving part of the coin blank while the rest displays stretched and distorted features, an error that instantly catches the eye and confirms its authenticity as a mint-made mistake. And if that were not enough, this extraordinary 1988 P quarter also shows signs of a missing clad layer where part of the surface exposes the underlying copper core, giving it a two-toned and uneven look, a feature that is not only visually striking but also extremely rare. And to further enhance its uniqueness, there are reports of die cracks across Washington's portrait, spreading like veins and creating raised lines of metal that were never intended by the engraver. And all these errors on a single coin transform it into a masterpiece of minting chaos, something so improbable that even the most seasoned collectors consider it nearly mythical. And this is why auction houses have seen bidding wars skyrocket whenever one of these unique 1988 P-era quarters surfaces, with passionate collectors determined to outbid one another for the privilege of adding such a piece to their collection, pushing the value to heights that would seem impossible for a coin of this modern era, reaching $5 million because of rarity, demand, and the allure of owning what may be the only example in existence. And beyond the physical errors themselves lies the story of possibilities, because when we think of coins from the late 1980s, most people assume they are too modern to hold serious value. Yet numismatics teaches us that value comes not from age alone, but from scarcity and desirability. And the 1988 P quarter dollar demonstrates how a coin barely a few decades old can rival or even surpass ancient rarities if it carries the right combination of mistakes. And this fact excites both veteran collectors and new hobbyists who suddenly realize that treasures might still be hidden in their change jars, waiting to be discovered. And that thrill of discovery fuels the legend of this coin even further, as stories circulate of lucky finders stumbling across era coins in circulation, sparking dreams that another $1,988 P quarter might be sitting unnoticed in a roll of quarters at a local bank. And while the odds are astronomically low, it is this sense of possibility that keeps collectors searching and examining every detail with magnifying glasses, hoping for that once-in-a-lifetime find. And when analyzing how this coin could have been created, we must consider the chaotic environment of high-volume minting at Philadelphia in 1988, where millions of planchets were fed into presses, dies were worn, machinery was misaligned, and quality control occasionally failed, resulting in the rare escape of spectacular errors. And while most were caught and melted, some survived to enter circulation, and those survivors today are the holy grails of era collectors, their value magnified by the fact that they should not exist at all. And the 1988 P quarter valued at $5 million stands as the perfect symbol of this, showing that mistakes at the mint can be worth fortunes decades later. And when we reflect on what drives collectors to pay millions, it comes down to rarity, condition, demand, and the story behind the coin. And this coin checks every box, because its rarity is unmatched with likely just one or very few examples known, its condition preserved enough to reveal all errors clearly, its demand heightened by the fascination of modern era coins, and its story captivating as it embodies the unpredictable beauty of mistakes. And this story does not end there, because once such a coin enters the spotlight, it changes the entire landscape of collecting, inspiring more people to examine coins, raising awareness of errors, and fueling a culture where modern coins once overlooked suddenly gain attention. And this ripple effect can be seen in the rise of value for other era quarters from the 1980s, as collectors look for doubled dies, off-centers, and missing clads, hoping to find something similar. And while most will not reach millions, the dream that one might be hiding in plain sight keeps the market alive. And the legend of the 1988 P quarter valued at $5 million ensures it will be remembered in numismatic history as one of the greatest treasures ever discovered. A reminder that even the smallest piece of change can carry a fortune if struck under the right combination of circumstances. And as we continue exploring coin collecting, we realize the joy lies not just in the value, but in the history, the mystery, and the possibility that the next great discovery might be waiting in the palm of your hand. And that is why this 1988 P quarter is not just worth $5 million, but also priceless in the way it inspires generations of collectors, making it a true icon of the hobby and a piece whose story will be told for decades to come.